For Dr. Vivian Lee, life is one big experiment. That's the message that she has worked hard to instill in the students that she's been teaching at Cleveland Metropolitan School District. Listen to Dr. Vivian Lee offer more advice.
Okay, so the first question is, how or when did you develop an interest in STEM?
I've always been interested in STEM. I've always taught biology, and as far back as I can remember, STEM careers was part of the curriculum. So I started teaching in 1973. So you can take it from there.
Well, can you take me back farther than that? I mean, what made you interested in it as a kid?
Well, when I went off to school, I had to declare a major. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I started it alphabetically, and I knew I didn't want administration, archaeology, and then I saw biology, and I said, oh, well, I think that would be great. That sounds good. That's how I got started. Oh. And then once I, engaged in the biology classes, I grew to love it,
Did you have anybody in your life, a parent, a family member, an educator, mentor, anybody that helped guide you along that path?
Yes, my mother was a medical technologist. That's what they were called back in the day. I guess phlebotomist is the field now, phlebotomy.
Okay.
And, I love my mother, and I connected biology with her. She gave me my first microscope when I went off to school. And yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. What would you have advice? I mean, you're an educator, so obviously you're going to, but what advice would you have for kids and young kids? I've got kids that are 7 and 9. What advice would you have for kids that age that are just kind of exploring the world and finding what they're interested in? What would you tell a kid like that about STEM?
Well, as I advise my grandchildren, is that life is one big experiment, and you make some decisions to check things out, but don't lock yourself in. You check it out, you explore it, you get you make observations and you record the data, and just like you do in an experiment, and you decide what you want to become, but stay open, because once you're on that road or that pathway, you may find out that there are other things that you didn't know about. So be open and willing to try. And remember, you don't fail until you stop. So just keep on trying.
That's really interesting that you say that, because what you're describing is using STEM skills to explore STEM careers.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, isn't that sort of basically how the scientific method works?
Right. So I tell people all the time, everybody uses or applies the scientific method, but you skip steps. Or you don't record what happened and you don't reflect on it. And that's what really gets you off track,
Yeah. It's that reflection piece that most of the world is missing right now.
Right. Yeah.
What, in the broadest sense possible, what does STEM, not the acronym, but the idea of STEM, what does that mean to you?
Exploration, that's what it is. It's you use science and technology and engineering to understand the system, and then you just check that system out. And on the way, each part of that system, has something unique about it. And that's really what gives you that differentiation, because everybody's a scientist, everybody. And
I love what you said there, that STEM means exploration. Because I think too many kids get handcuffed by it. They hear STEM, if they know what the acronym even means, but they hear they hear math. And I was definitely a kid that math and I did not get along. all of my education and my career has been in words, not numbers.
Right.
But actually, here's the next question. So looking back on your career, and looking back on your education and having that benefit of the hindsight, what would you have wanted to hear as a young person about STEM fields or about the promise of STEM and what that means and what that can do for your life?
Awareness, exactly what our program is designed to do. I just feel that I was aware of what my mother did in the science world, but I don't think school, exposed me enough to all the varieties of fields of study that existed. And I don't think it was an intentional slight or anything. It's just that I know in the urban school, in Black communities, knowledge is limited. And they shared what they knew, go to school and do this and do that. But there's so many things out there that you can do. And that's what I've learned in life, be open and learn from everybody. I'm a lifelong learner. Every time I speak or work with somebody, I learn something new. And I'm open to it. Some people are very closed about learning new things.
I guess that sort of jives with what we're trying to do. So, I mean, is it fair to say that you want to encourage kids, if they're not getting that in classrooms as much as they want, go looking outside of class?
Right. And that's why, as a component of my program, I want to invite people in, and give them a chance to just sit down and know they're people just like they are. And they'll tell them their story, how they ended up here, and that lets them know that, you've got a journey ahead of you. Nothing's locked in stone when you graduate from high school. It's going to change every year. So keep living. That's my motto. Keep living. You'll understand.
This interview is part of a series of profiles for NeoSTEM's I Am STEM initiative, a public awareness campaign.